So we just wanted to make this quick video response to answer a question that was asked after our webinar last time. So we gave you guys the opportunity to put some questions into us, and we're going to give you that opportunity again after we finish this. Feel free to ask any questions you have, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But the questions that came in were about practical tips for conflict resolution, and then also how to facilitate a friendship with your spouse if you didn't really have one to begin with when you first got married. So here's our answers to that. We're going to deal with the conflict resolution part first. So if you're in conflict, couples a lot of times have the tendency to go pretty deep with that. It could take several days to get beyond the conflict, and they may find that they hop subjects from one to the next. I've known of several couples that'll tell me, you know, we fought for 3 days. I don't even know what started it, and now we haven't talked for a full day until seeing you. It's just easier not to talk than to argue. So I've got 2 tips for you regarding conflict resolution, and both of them have to do with time limits. So the first one is when you're engaged in conflict, set up a time limit where each of you guys have, 5 to 10 minutes that you're going to talk, and that's it. And during that time, the other one just listens, okay? You're not going to try to fight the case. You're just going to listen to what's going on. And if you find yourselves getting escalated and that's not working, so use a timer and everything, and if that's not working, step aside for a while and have a cool-off period. But again, set a time limit for that cool-off period and set it before you're ever in an argument. So watch this video, talk about it. What's our time limit for a cool-off period? And when you do have your cool-off period, make sure that as you step away, you're maybe processing, writing some notes to yourself about the most important pieces that you want to bring back to your spouse. That way you guys can work on actually resolving that.
That's good. I like the time limit thing. It allows you to focus. It gives you a goal to work on together, which kind of takes me into what I'm thinking about that. Speaking of together, it's very important that you are approaching everything as a team. So you've made a commitment to be with each other and to team up to make this marriage work. You want to take that approach in everything. So if you think about if you have kids, how you deal with the kids, you have a team approach. Hopefully, dealing with the finances, you have a team approach. And so it's the same way with dealing with conflict. You want to remember that you're a team. Even in this conflict, it's not you against that person. It is you and your spouse against whatever the issue is, and approach it from that level so that you are both working together to come to a resolution that's a win-win for both of you. So, yep, like the time limit, and definitely remember that you are a team.
I think that it's important to remember that you and your spouse have to work together. I think we said this before. We have to work together as a team. There's always going to be issues or difficulties that the enemy is going to try and use to pit you against your spouse. But you have to remember that that's exactly what's happening. The enemy is trying to pit you against your spouse. The enemy hates marriage. So he's going to use anything he can to, make you think that your spouse is this terrible person. What you have to remember is to try and come together as a team and try to get to the bottom of what the issue is and work on it together. That's the most important thing. And the next thing I think is that you can't be selfish. It's really, really easy to be selfish in conflict. You can always say, well, I feel like, you're always blah, 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 and I'm just not going to deal with that anymore. And I'm not going to work on that. That's for you to fix. But, we have to be almost accommodating, I think is the word I'm trying to use. You have to be accommodating for your spouse. What do you really want out of this marriage? Do you want your marriage to work? You're going to have to work on it. You have to set selfishness aside. You're going to have to remember that you guys love each other. And don't let anything get in the way of that. Can't be selfish. You have to be willing to accommodate your spouse. You have to be willing to just work with your spouse.
All right, very good. And then the other question was about just developing a friendship if you didn't have one before. So there really can be a lot of reasons why people aren't friends when they get married. But maybe marriage seemed like the right next step, or it seemed like the thing to do. People might have felt pushed into it. Whatever the case, if you're married and you want to remain committed, then developing that friendship is just very important and something that you want to do. So here are some ways to do that. I encourage people to kind of get a hobby together. So maybe there's something that you've thought about doing and you've never had the opportunity to do it. It could be anything from nature hikes to cooking classes to dance lessons, trying new restaurants in your area that you've thought about going to and have never gone to. Whatever it is, I would say do this together. So there can be a tendency in relationships where you're not very close friends to each of you to find your own thing and really engage with that. But I encourage you to find a way to get a hobby together where it's something you both enjoy, or at the very minimum are both willing to try to see if you would enjoy it, and then start doing those things together.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Just to piggyback on that, if you think about what was happening before you got married, if you think about the dating period, I'm sure that you weren't talking about finances and whipping out your financial profiles on the first, second, or third date. Now, there are some people probably who did that, but typically you're not doing that. You're laughing, you're having a good time, you're enjoying a good meal, you're watching a good movie, you're enjoying a sporting event that you both are interested in. Begin to incorporate those things, reincorporate, if you will, those things into your situation so that you are building that bond outside of the marital issues. It can't always be about the kids. It can't always be about the money. It can't always be about what you did and what I did, or what you didn't do and what I didn't do. Sometimes you have to spend time bonding. And the best way to bond is to bring in those things that you love, the things that brought you together in the first place.
Well, I would say you have to kind of, try and find fun stuff to do. Have fun together. Figure out what it is that you and your spouse like to do and do those things. You have to just do simple things at first. Have fun. Go out to the movies. Go on whatever you like to do for leisure activities. You're going to have to start really basic with the fun stuff. And also sometimes you're going to have to even do stuff that you may not have necessarily have done before by yourself. Indulge your spouse and, do stuff that your spouse likes to do and have fun and ask questions about it. I am not a football person at all, but lately I've been, sitting down with Ollie and I've been watching football and I've been asking questions and I really want to learn it. Why? Because I want to do something that he likes to do. I want to continue to grow. Even though we've been married 15 years, I want to continue to grow our relationship. And, that's a way to just grow a friendship. Try and find stuff that your spouse loves to do, but you may not particularly, not that you didn't dislike it, but it's just not necessarily something that you would have picked to do. Do those kind of things as well with your spouse and ask questions and indulge your spouse. My husband, when he's fixing the car, I'll go out and, you want me to hold this for you while you pour the oil? And you want me to pass you the wrench? I could care less about cars, but it's the way to spend time together. And he's my friend and I want to spend time with him. So indulge your spouse, have fun, and just try and find stuff that you like to do together as well.
Absolutely. I love that advice. So guys, thanks so much for submitting a question. And please, if you have another one, shoot it to us and let us know. And we'll try to get back information to you as soon as possible. Also, we'll be working on our next webinar soon. So if you have a topic that you're really interested in, let us know because we definitely want to bring you information that's valuable. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.